show where we get really excited about games that are not going to happen for 19 months, 20 months,
21 months,
matter.
I think.
21 months. Sam Kahn Jr., good at math, here on the Bad at Math podcast. Why do we have the Techspert on? Because Sam wrote a great story this week in The Athletic about the resumption of the Texas-Texas A&M rivalry. I realize it is February 2023, and this game will not be played until Thanksgiving weekend of 2024. You know, unless the SEC screws up the schedule thing. I don't care. I'm excited. Is this the first time that Realignment has brought back a rivalry that it is destroyed initially?
It's a great question. I don't know Realignment history.
I mean, Oklahoma, Missouri, Big 8
years.
History is one thing, but it's not really the same thing.
Michigan, UCLA, right?
UCLA Rutgers, baby.
You know what I was thinking, Sam, while I was reading your story?
What?
How could they screw this up? How could they possibly screw this up? How
they
could
better
they possibly
not
screw this up? How could they? Like, it's like right there. This is like first grade level of arithmetic.
If we get anything other than 3 fixed opponents, with Texas and Texas A&M being one of those 3, I'm gonna break something.
Right, because if you only do one, you have to do Texas and Oklahoma. And that's not going to work. Like, that will not work. So don't do that. Do not listen to the Kentuckys and the Mississippi States of the world. Do the 3. It'll be great. And play this game. Because, Sam, you live in the state. You covered the state for a long time. You live in the state now. So you've learned more about this as this dynamic. But to me, as an outsider, this feels like the most supercharged version of the ag school, liberal arts school rivalry in a state. Like, I know Alabama and Auburn is an intense rivalry, but there's some respect there. Like Michigan, Ohio State, different thing. That's a state-on-state rivalry, but obviously some respect there. These people freaking hate each other. It's like the Egg Bowl on steroids.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way I've put it, is the last 11 years, they've pretended like they don't care about each other. We've done this dance of, well, they didn't want to play and we wanted to play, or no, we don't want to play. We don't need them.
Yeah.
And it just drives me nuts. And then every time a new coach got hired at one of those schools, or a new AD got hired at one of those schools, even a new president, one of the questions is inevitably, are we going to bring back the Texas-Texas A&M game? And it drove me nuts because we kept asking the question, knowing damn well it probably wasn't going to happen. And it took this move of Texas following Texas A&M to the SEC for it to happen, because we're going to force it to happen now. But I'm glad that we finally got to this point, because they snipe at each other on the message boards. They pay attention to each other's recruiting classes. They pay attention to what each other does on the field. They very much care. So I that's why I'm glad to see that we're finally going to actually play it on the field.
So let me ask you guys this. Friend of the show, Billy Lucci, the king of Texas A&M.
Yes.
And I'm not calling him out or saying anything negative about this man. I did see him at a breakfast place in Dallas.
Billy
and I was
turns it loose on you.
Yeah, no, we've had our boxing match. But I will say that I follow him on Twitter. And he spends a lot of time tweeting about Texas.
And Jeff Ketchum tweets about Texas. His counterpart over at Orange Bloods tweets about Texas A&M.
I follow a lot of people at Alabama. I follow a lot of people at Auburn. I follow a lot of people at Ohio State. I follow a lot of people in Michigan. I don't think that the main figureheads of the websites that represent those schools tweet about their rival as much as the Texas one does, which I think, and he can come on and tell me if I'm wrong, might be an indication of how much they actually spend time thinking about each other. Because this is a rivalry that, in Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Auburn, they spend time, looking at the other people's boards and knowing what they're doing in recruiting. But I feel like this is a full-time real estate in head rivalry where you're thinking about your opponent all year.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. If you go on each of the message boards and you can go multiple of them on each of these schools' respective fan bases, you will find a thread, like a message board thread, that is dedicated to the other program. And it's on TexAgs. Gosh, it's been going for years and years. At Texas, I don't know how long it's been going, but I know it's been going on for a while, and they are without a doubt the most posts you see are in those threads about the other school. So that tells you kind of or sums up what Ari's saying is how much they do think about the other. And also, I think in large part because they compete in recruiting. And that's that even though they've been separated in conferences, they're only separated by 90, 100 miles. And they still compete for the top recruits in the state and a lot of recruits around the country.
Sam, I want to ask you this because I said this to Andy on the last show, and you're the guy who would know this. Is it possible that Texas fans hate Texas A&M more than they hate Oklahoma?
I don't think so. I think they probably. I think the OU rivalry still feels like a little more intense to me for Texas than it does.
But they respect Oklahoma. I don't think they respect Texas A&M. I think that's the issue. I think that's the bigger issue is they don't respect Texas A&M. A&M is, A&M fans are furious that they don't respect them. And it is and this is not abnormal in these types of school relationships where you have the school that is the agricultural mechanical school and the school that is the quote unquote flagship university for the state. NC State, North Carolina is like this. Alabama, Auburn's like this. Ole Miss and Mississippi State are like this. You have this around the country, but these alumni bases are so huge and so rich, and the history so deep and so long that this one just feels like the hatred runs deeper.
Yeah, I could see it because also too, like I said, proximity matters in that too, because you're going to go more likely to be going to the office on Monday with someone who went to either Texas or Texas A&M than you are with Oklahoma. And so that's where the intensity ratchets up, I think, because you're going to see them, every day of the week. And that the ability to talk trash and brag throughout that kind of runs it through. And I think that the breakup where with Texas A&M leaving and everything that happened in 2010 with Texas almost leaving, and forming the Pac-16, I think that stirred up a lot of feelings because it kind of laid the power dynamics bare, kind of where it was. And that was Texas A&M's chance to kind of say, okay, we're not going to be latched to you. We're going to go do our own thing. And I think that exacerbated some of the feelings that have long existed anyway.
So here we got to play in 4 parts playing out in the comments. Norwooding says, A&M would actually need to win to get respect. And then Kyle says, the last time Texas won anything of note, their current freshman class wasn't born yet. And then Jason says, A&M wants so bad to not be the little brother that in this past decade, they were definitely out of Texas shadow for the most part. That all changes now. And Kyle responds with, so we both suck.
Love it.
My favorite thing about the rivalry is that number one thing that I always hear from Texas fans is A&M's never won anything. And I hadn't gone through puberty the last time Texas was good. So it's like that to me, it's just like up with a new.
Let's hear from prepubescent Ari about Vince Young. He's awesome.
He was awesome. Awesome. I'll tell you guys, he was awesome. But it's just like I would come up with new material, I guess, because it's like usually when you say you suck, that means you're good.
Right. And this is the dynamics of this, and Sam mentioned this earlier, the fact that A&M left. And there's I wrote a story, one of my first stories at The Athletic was looking back at A&M leaving the Big 12 for the SEC. And one of the things that Bowen Lofton, who was the president of Texas A&M at the time, told me was he was meeting with Bill Powers, the president of Texas. And this is in 2010. This is before the news of the flirtation with the Pac-10 by those schools had arisen. And Lofton had been hearing some rumors, and so he asked Powers about it. And Lofton, the way he tells the story is Powers says, "Don't worry, we'll take care of you." That's a great way to piss off an Aggie.
It's like patting him on the head.
Exactly. And so at that point, now they didn't go. They actually could have gone to the SEC in 2010. They didn't. They both stayed in the Big 12. Texas pulled the okey doke on Larry Scott, and then it falls apart the next summer as the Longhorn Network was being created. But the Aggie ethos at that point was, we'll show you who's more important, who doesn't need who. and they go to the SEC. And I will say, this is, again, from someone with no dog in the hunt, the fact that Texas is coming to the SEC to join them proves that Texas A&M was right about all that.
100%. And I think the funny thing is, too, about that move is that A&M, I think Andy, I think you'll admit this too, is they're a really good cultural fit for the SEC. Like they fit in like a glove with fan base and traditions and all that stuff. But they kind of flirted with the SEC even a couple decades before that. The RC Slocum, back before the Southwest Conference broke up, RC Slocum was talking to Roy Kramer, and when the SEC was starting to expand then, right after they took Arkansas and South Carolina. And so that relationship kind of existed. But to your point, they have raised their profile in the last decade. Even though last year was a disaster, they have raised their profile as a program significantly since joining that conference. And of course, Johnny Manziel in that first year was a big part of it. But they are much more nationally relevant now than they were the year before they entered the SEC. And there's no question that conference membership and what they've done in that conference, even though they haven't won anything of significance, they've still done enough to be relevant and has raised their profile and kind of put them on a higher plane in the college football stratosphere.
Well, you know what I think is interesting about that, Sam? I think that it's possible for A&M to win a national title. And if you were to ask how many teams in college football are right now in the current Power 5 do you think actually could win the national championship? And our opinion will probably differ on this. But what is the answer to that question? In theory, could. Is it 15?
That's probably about right.
About a right number.
So you have two teams that
could
have
theoretically
have both been down bad for a long time. And somebody said, so Ari didn't go through puberty till 2009 when Texas was a late bloomer, or when he was in the national championship game, was he a late bloomer?
Let's not have the if Colt hadn't gotten hurt discussion. We don't need to do that today.
Well, they were good. And 2009 was when I graduated college. So maybe that was, I still had a high voice back then, but depending on you ask too, maybe I didn't. But you're talking about two teams here that actually have the money, the resources, the fan base, and the recruiting results to actually do it, and they still have stunk. So the question to me is, what is going wrong with both of these places? It drives me absolutely insane. My indoctrination into being a co-host on this podcast has been humiliated over and over again by believing in Texas. I believed in A&M because they have the nuts and bolts to do it, which is something that 85% of the sport can't even say. Yeah. So which one's been more dysfunctional? Will being back in the SEC together help that dysfunction? And like, if you had to pick, which one would be, who do you think is going to be good first?
It's interesting because I would have said A&M this time last year, but now I'm not so sure because I don't know what's going to happen with Jimbo. And we're going to get into the current states of those programs going into 2023 in a bit, but the way Texas is recruited, it does feel like especially on the line of scrimmage this past year and the year before, it does feel like they're building an SEC roster. A&M already had an SEC roster. You know, it's just a matter of can they keep it together and can the coaching staff do what it's supposed to do? So,
which is what the craziest thing, Andy, before you.
So the answer to your question, Ari, is Oklahoma, because Brent Venables is going to put together.
Well, the thing that's nuts about the Texas and Texas A&M discussion is Texas has done a great job building a beast of an offensive line.
Yeah.
And Texas A&M's bulk of its success in the class 2 years ago was defensive line. So it's almost like yin and yang a little bit there. And I think that it's possible that if A&M can just keep these guys on the roster and, really take some steps forward, that in 2 or 3 years, we could be it is not out of the realm of possibility that the first game that these two teams play in was it 21 months or 19 months or whatever it was, they could be to both top 5. Like it could be for a spot in the SEC championship.
Or they could both be about to fire their coaches. Like that's the beauty of
but like the way that they're trending right now, with the way that the rosters have been built, the coaches, the Arch Manning, the class that A&M put together, Bobby Petrino. But it does seem like you are but like both of these teams always seem like they're the next big thing.
Yeah.
Always.
It's because it's hard not to. It's Texas. I mean, the state of Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. I mean, you guys live there. It's real. Like, walk into a Buc-ee's, for God's sake. You understand. Like, and then you see Kyle Field and you see, Texas or Darrell K. Royal, Texas Memorial Stadium. Like, wow, you're just, whoa, look at all this. And it's very hard to wrap your brain around why neither one in the last decade has been able to get off the schneid. But dysfunction is a great reason.
Buy-in and finances. Really, when you have buy-in from fans and administrators and the financial backing to build something, that most part they've done that. And it's like, for whatever reason, the money at both of these places hasn't bought success,
Yeah. Well, Sam, let's talk about the specifics. You mentioned this in your story where you quoted Ross Bjork, the AD at Texas A&M, saying that, well, we know where the first game's going to be. While we don't know a lot of things, like don't know if it's going to be on Thanksgiving, don't know if it's going to be on Saturday, don't know if it's going to be Black Friday. They know it's going to be in College Station, according to Ross Bjork. You took that to Chris Del Conte, the AD at Texas. That's news to me.
He called it internet fodder, which I loved.
I mean, it is something the athletic director of Texas A&M has said pretty confidently for almost a year now. So I think that's now that strikes me as a concession to A&M, because Mike Slive had said, well, you're coming in and Texas isn't. And that was when Texas A&M came in, and obviously the situation changed. And if Texas wants to come to the SEC, you're dumb if you don't take them if you're the SEC. So we're, even though the 2011 game, the last one that was played in College Station, my guess is that's fine. And Texas will probably be like, okay, whatever, let's go.
Yeah, that's my read on it. It's Ross won't explicitly say that, but I get the sense that it's a make good for A&M after everything that happened. So when it comes out in 24, that'll be where the first game will take place. It doesn't matter. They're gonna go back and forth, and it's gonna be home and home anyway, unless they take David Ubben's idea and put it at Texas Motor Speedway, which I'm not a huge fan of. I don't want
my idea to be that
site.
There's already a neutral site game with one of those teams. We don't need more of that.
We don't need
another.
I agree. No. That's a long way to go. That's a long way to go, though.
I know, but you want to have it deep in the heart of Texas? Is that not?
that is very deep in the heart of Texas. That is a long
They can play it at Permian's high school stadium. We're talking about you can talk about.
It should move around. It should move around the state.
Every single big Texas high school. Could you imagine how cool that? It would never happen.
It would
Obviously,
be cool, but
Texas. But could you
while
imagine
those
how
stadiums
cool
are big, they're not big enough.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. Ratliff maybe holds 22,000 at Ratliff. I think
Zachary Stevenson in the chat said, "I hope the first game is in Austin so I can sell my tickets and pay for my next 2 or 3 years of season tickets from that one sale." Imagine if you were a season ticket holder and they did a raffle for the high school stadium seats, what the resale value on that would be.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
They could play the first game in Allen. How many that Allen
seats?
stadium?
18,000.
18? Like you could get away with it. The money is in the television deal. It's not in the ticket sales.
There's 80,000 seats you're leaving. Ari, I know we're a bad at math podcast.
No, that's a lot of money.
It costs $150 and multiply by 80,000.
Yeah.
How much?
If you had no capacity limits, how many do you think tickets could you sell for that first Texas A&M?
I think Ubben's right. You could fill Texas Motor Speedway.
Could you see the field at a racetrack? I've never been to a race before, so I don't know.
So when Tennessee and Virginia Tech did it, I believe people who are at the game in the faraway seats said it was very difficult to see the field. So, and that's Bristol, which is not a huge track.
I went to the Final Four in San Antonio in 2008, I think, or whenever it was there. And the way that it was set up, like you almost couldn't even see half the floor.
Yeah.
And you'd be further away at a racetrack than you would be at the Alamo.
Yeah. And I've covered some of those Final Fours where they put the floor in the middle of the football dome. And if you're up in the top, you can't see squat. So
it's got to be about seeing stuff. But like, what if they played at the high school
they play
stadium?
At Kyle Field?
Yeah,
and at Darrell
or DKR. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. What if they played at the high school field where the number one player in the state of Texas goes to high school that year, and whoever wins gets the recruit?
This is like the Dave Brown Longhorn Network interview all over again.
I was just about to say, let's bring back old memories. Let's put these two up in the first place.
Let's talk about Malcolm Brown.
Could you imagine if the winner of
Jonathan
last
Gray.
year's game got Jonte Cook?
Listen, it's gonna be great. Now, one more logistical question before we get to the states of the teams right now. This was a Thanksgiving game. The NFL has pretty much decided it wants to dominate Thanksgiving, and the Egg Bowl's carved out a nice niche in the college world in Thanksgiving. I don't think they should do anything with that. So I'm saying no Thanksgiving, and I'm thinking the SEC will probably say no Thanksgiving. So Black Friday, where there's not really a great SEC game right now, it's you got Missouri, Arkansas, Florida had to play at Florida State last year, but that was Florida State's game on the ACC contract. Or Saturday, where you just bookend it with the Iron Bowl, like it's a doubleheader where one's the Iron Bowl and one's this game.
I like Black Friday. They've done that before in the past. It wasn't always on Thanksgiving in the past. It was a lot. It was often, but I remember growing up, it was on Black Friday quite a bit too. So I don't think Black Friday is a bad slot at all. The question is are they going to work out the other schedules of the other rivalry games to accommodate that weekend? Because if A&M is 3 permanents are Texas, LSU, and Mississippi State, right now they play LSU in that last weekend.
And LSU doesn't care.
I know LSU doesn't care, but they're going to have to move some other games around, because if you keep all the other rivalry games and you just switch Texas A&M, that leaves LSU with Oklahoma, and I don't think they're going to be permanent. So if they're not permanent, you're going to have to move
that just may be a rotating spot, because remember, you've already got the Egg Bowl. You'll have Texas and Texas A&M. You have Florida State. You have Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Louisville, South Carolina, Clemson. Those are already, and then the Iron Bowl, the big daddy. So you've got all that already. Like, you don't have to. There doesn't have to be another set rivalry there. I actually liked when LSU Arkansas was a Black Friday game, but I don't think those two are going to be permanent opponents either. So
see, and that's to me is the easiest solution, is if you had LSU Arkansas in that slot, and then you had Oklahoma Mizzou, because LSU and Oklahoma are the ones that you're missing in that last weekend if you're just switching Texas A&M. So if you put Texas A&M, Arkansas LSU, and Oklahoma Mizzou, and you can leave everything else as it is if you switch it up that way.
Well, I just remember Houston Nutt on the field at LSU in 2007, and you thought LSU's national title chances had been ruined, and Darren McFadden's behind him just going, "Got that wood!" Like, that's one of my favorite Black Friday memories. That game was awesome. So I'm with you there. That would be fun, guys. When we come back, though, we got to talk about these two teams now, because kind of feeling make or breakish for A&M. I don't care how big the buyout is. And then for Texas, maybe a favorite in the Big 12, in spite of not proving much over the last few years. We'll talk about it when we come back. So spent some time with some new friends this weekend. The usual crowd I like, but sometimes I like to branch out. So I met up with Logan Aldridge, with Robin Arzone, with Hannah Frankson. These people, have I met them in person? No. But I know them now because they're Peloton trainers, and they put me through some great workouts this weekend. And that's the thing. It's like meeting new friends when you find somebody like Hannah Frankson, who, that accent, it's a British accent, and I'm telling you, it makes you want to run faster. I don't know why. It just does. Logan Aldridge puts you at ease, gets you moving. That's probably the best part of Peloton. It's not the equipment itself. It's not the ease of use in the app. All that stuff's great too, but it's the people. Peloton is not just a bike. It's workouts across the spectrum with people who are going to push you, who understand that everybody needs to work out a little bit differently. And that's the best part. I did my usual hard intervals run with Marcel Dinkins, but then went to Logan Aldridge and ran around and listened to pop music. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes it has to be what you need when you need it. And that's what Peloton is. Peloton offers thousands of on-demand classes available 24/7. It means you can work out whenever and wherever it's convenient to you. And you don't have to be a super athlete to like Peloton, because there are classes for every level. Whether you exercise daily or you're new to working out, Peloton can help you achieve whatever your fitness goals are. So try Peloton risk-free with a 30-day home trial. It's for new members only. It's not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial. That's onepeloton.com/home-trial. Make some new friends. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Is it check up on your credit score? Didn't think so. At Chime, that's exactly what they do. With your secure Chime Credit Builder Visa card, you can start to build credit with your own money. Chime reports your payments to credit bureaus to help you build up credit over time. Their members see an increase of 30 points on average. All of this with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply. So start your credit journey with Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/Andy. That's chime.com/Andy. The Chime Credit Builder Visa card is issued by Stride Bank NA pursuant to a license from Visa USA. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply for the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card. Regular on-time payment history can have a positive impact on your credit score. Impact to score may vary, and some users' scores may not improve. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply except at MoneyPass ATMs and a 7-Eleven or any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Welcome back. Let's talk Texas and Texas A&M 2023 before we get to them playing in 2024. I'm very excited about that rivalry coming back, but there's a lot going on between now and then. A&M, we covered a lot on this podcast last year. Every week they couldn't top 28 points. The frustration, the dichotomy of having the number one recruiting class in the country and then just a abysmal season. Bobby Petrino, they're now running the offense. Connor Wegman obviously showed flashes toward the end of the season at quarterback. Do you guys think that this can turn it around?
I think that if Jimbo Fisher is really actually taking his hands off the play calling, getting a little bit out of the game planning, and letting Petrino do what he hired him to do, then yeah, I think there's a chance. But I don't think we know the answer to that question until we actually get into games in the fall, because what's going to happen when, couple 3-and-outs and Jimbo didn't like what he saw, like what's going to happen on the headset? And we don't know the answer to that question. Even people at A&M, I think right now, okay, things are going as planned and as Jimbo said it would, but what's going to happen in the season? But I will say from a talent standpoint, yeah, I do think they have a chance to turn around. When you look at how much they bring offensively, how much they bring defensively, getting Anaya Smith back, I think was absolutely huge for them, because I don't know that we expected that. Certainly with the injury that conflicted or that complicated his draft status. But I thought losing him in that Arkansas game last year was so critical. Of all the issues, they had issues on the line, they had issues elsewhere, but Anaya Smith's loss to me was so critical to one of the reasons why they struggled so much offensively last year.
So the one thing I worry about with them, we talked about the transfer portal. Ari and I talked about this a lot when players were going into it. It didn't feel like they lost many players that they were too worried about losing, that starters or potential future stars that they didn't want to lose.
Or a ton of pieces of the 2022 class that was
correct. Yeah, Anthony Lucas probably was one that
Sure.
they would love to have back. Smoke Bowie, not part of that class, but also another one that I don't think they wanted to lose. He went to Georgia. But for the most part, here's my question, though. As far as depth goes, are they a few injuries away from being back in a similar situation? That's the part I would worry about if I were them, because we saw them have some offensive line injuries last year, and it really hurt everything.
Well, they're going to be really active in the portal after spring, right, Sam?
You would think. I mean, they were trying to be in this winter window and were only able really to land 2 guys. They need to land a lot more in the spring window. So
just to fill out the roster, right? Because I don't know how I didn't do the math, but like, are there like 20 spots under? It felt like
I'll have to look at the roster as a full, but they lost 25 to scholarship guys to the portal and
their class was small.
Added to that class was small, but they still they did finish that 23 class pretty well. The spots that I would be concerned from a depth standpoint is really at corner in that secondary, because they lost a lot of corners to the portal or to the draft. So that's one that could hurt them. They do bring back all the offensive line, so that's a plus for them. They just got to stay healthy up there. But that's, to me, is the biggest concern for them next year is depth. Can they stay healthy? And if they cannot, do they have enough depth to sustain and survive?
If you look at what they have,
top end talent's pretty good.
Yes.
if you look at their depth chart, especially offensively, and what they have on that team, if Connor Wegman makes a big jump this year, and I don't know, Reuben Owens could rush for 1,000 yards this year, which I think is possible. Like, they are loaded, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wegman's
I mean,
got
remember
Anaya
they
Smith,
also
Moose Muhammad,
they
and
also
Evan
played a
Stewart.
division with they also played a division with Alabama and LSU. So loaded is a loaded term, for lack of a better word.
But if their offense works, they have the talent to score a lot of points this year, in my opinion. And their offensive line is back. So if you have a freshman running back, is he going to be their leading ball carrier this year? Is that the anticipation?
It's possible. Yeah, it's wide open because after A-Chain left, there's no clear-cut successor. So Owens, if he shows it, he absolutely could take that job and run with it.
So that's the big thing. And also, like you guys said, first time something happens offensively, does Jimbo say, I want that back? Now, here's where I think having Bobby Petrino as the OC is a little bit different than having a 30-something OC who's kind of wonderkin. Bobby Petrino can turn around and tell Jimbo Fisher to stick it. He doesn't care. He knows he's getting paid either way. So, like, it doesn't affect his career down the line. Like, doesn't matter. His reputation is pretty much set in stone as it is. So he doesn't care.
Kidding. The common sentiment when I went to the AFCA convention, the common sentiment among everybody is that everybody wants a camera inside the offensive staff room.
It'd be amazing. It would be amazing. Because the first hint of I don't think what you're doing is going to work versus I know what I'm doing works better than what you want to do would be amazing. Like, I would watch the heck out of that. Kyle Wallace in the chat, has there ever been a better candidate for college hard knocks than this A&M team and coaching staff? No, there has not.
No, not at all. Jimbo, right, Petrino, Adazio. I mean, that's
wow.
That's a lot of
guys being dudes. That's all that
is. Right. That's right. So let's move over to Austin though. Texas could be picked, maybe a trendy pick in the Big 12. They're going to be, some people are going to say Oklahoma is due for a resurgence. There's going to be people who say K-State can do it again. But where is Texas realistically right now, Sam?
They're a good team. And when the Big 12 media poll comes out before media days, I will not be shocked if they're top 2, top 3 in that pecking order. Because who do you look at in the conference right now that you say, oh, that's the clear-cut favorite to win the conference? I don't think there is one right now. So why not Texas? When you already talked about it just a minute ago, what they've done building on the line of scrimmage, they bring back all their offensive line starters also. And they bring back Quinn Ewers, and they bring Xavier Worthy, and they brought Adonai Mitchell over, and Jatavian Sanders is still there. That the biggest question they have to answer is replacing Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. They got talent. The question is they going to have the leadership to replace those guys? Because those two guys were huge in that regard, but they do have talented backs.
Well, that's the thing. If the line is good, and like Kelvin Banks could be an absolute star. Texas hasn't been able to get this excited about an offensive lineman in a long time. But if he and the line are good, whoever carries the ball is going to gain yards. I think that's what, that's like Georgia's situation. Sometimes it's hard to tell how good Georgia's backs are because they're running into these giant holes a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about production from the backs. The biggest concern I have with Texas is just from a leadership standpoint, and especially on the offensive side.
Did you not see that Quinn Ewers shaved his mullet?
I did see that Quinn Ewers.
I don't consider that a positive, Ari.
From a leadership standpoint, it looks like he's ready to go to a business meeting now.
Well, he had business up front already.
He did have.
Why do you have to sacrifice party in the back?
Well, maybe it's just so he doesn't put his back to the line of scrimmage anymore.
that could be a problem. You're supposed to be, if you take snaps under center when you do play action, you have to put your back to the line of scrimmage every once in a while. So
there's no party; it's all business on that field. Okay.
I don't know. I loved the mullet. That was one of my favorite parts of Quinn Ewers, and it felt like it fit his playing style.
Yeah, it's like Johnny Manziel was all party on the field and off the field, right? And that worked.
Yes, it worked very well.
So this will be a fascinating one because it is a little bit of expectations for Texas, and Texas recently has not been able to handle expectations, but it does feel like they're stronger on the line of scrimmage than they've been in a while, which was when they had expectations before, that was not the case.
And they're really good defensively. That to me was the biggest stride they made in 22, and I think they'll be as good or better in 23 up there. They did not lose a lot, and they brought back Jalen Ford, who should have been Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, but that they're going to be, they still should be a solid team. If they play the way they played all year, which is pretty fast, pretty physical, pretty disciplined, I think they can figure it out offensively with all the weapons they've got back. It's just, again, I go back to the leadership part is they got to have a lot of the veterans that they lost. They're going to have to replace that part of it. But from a production standpoint, I look at the team. There's no reason why they shouldn't contend for the Big 12 championship this year.
It would be what a way to go out if that's what happened, if either they did it or Oklahoma did it. But I imagine it'd be a big deal for K-State, for Baylor, for TCU, for all those teams to make sure they don't. When we come back, though, something's coming that I think addresses one of Ari's biggest concerns. We'll talk about it when we come back. I remember the first time I tried on a Rhone polo. I slipped it on. I said, oh, my Lord, this is the most perfect fitting polo shirt I've ever worn. And then I bought 3 of them because when you find a shirt that fits you absolutely perfectly, you get as many as you can. Now, here's the thing. The way Rhone makes his shirts, they're going to fit a lot of people perfectly because it's 4-way stretch. The commuter polo, the one I love, it hugs the right places and makes you look better in all the right places. It's pretty much the best way I can describe it. The commuter pants, same deal. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. The commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man, and here's why. Rhone helps you get ready for any occasion with the commuter collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what you wear when you have the Rhone commuter collection. It's true. I have the commuter dress pants. I have the commuter joggers, which are my favorite pants in the entire world. So you got favorite polo, favorite pants. It's pretty hard to beat. They're comfortable. You can move around like you're wearing athletic clothing, but you're not. You look like you're ready for work. It washes very well, holds up in the wash. I know everybody says it that their product does. This one actually does. I've got hundreds of washes in on my polo shirts. The commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/Andy23 and use the promo code Andy23 to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/Andy23 and use the code Andy23. It's time to find your corner office comfort. All right, boys. Ari's been complaining a lot on this show about a particular topic, that there are no more mid-budget movies. It's all comic book movies that cost $200 million. That there's nothing, nobody makes a movie for $35 million anymore that you're like, oh, I want to go to the theater and see that. Well, Ari, on Friday, that changes because Cocaine Bear is coming out.
Yeah, we're
How
back.
pumped are you?
We're back.
$35 million budget, dark comedy. I mean, this is the kind of movie that used to get slipped in there, and amid all the blockbusters that they don't make anymore, this is what you've been asking for, and I bet it does booming box office.
You know, I've gotten into this phase. You know, on Amazon Prime, you can do watch parties.
Yeah.
Where you watch the same thing at the same time with friends and you can chat. I've been watching like Lifetime thriller movies with my friends. It's like, and they're all the same arc, like starts innocent, someone becomes obsessed with the other.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the man's fault. Violence with 10 minutes left, and they all end with a person sitting on the back of an ambulance with a blanket wrapped around them. And they're all the same. And like, this is what I have left now. This is my movie watching. I'm watching all the Richard Gere movies from the early 90s. Like, they don't, I'm just at the end of my pathetic rope when it comes to this.
Good news. Now you get a movie about a black bear ingesting 75 pounds of cocaine and going on a murderous rampage throughout North Georgia.
That's
Let's
terrifying.
go. CGI black bear high on cocaine.
Did he eat it?
Well, okay. So the real story, I did go down a cocaine bear rabbit hole today. The real story is there was a cocaine smuggler who threw a bunch of cocaine out of his plane because I guess the plane was overweight and it was going down. He then jumped out of the plane himself, had a faulty parachute, crashed, and died. A bear was found 3 weeks later, dead, and there were 45 or so open packages of cocaine around the bear. No one knows what happened between when the bear ingested the cocaine and when the bear died. My guess is Ray Liotta was not involved.
How far away was he from the cocaine is what I want to know.
He was in
19 miles.
yeah. He was in it. So now this is Ray Liotta's last movie. So show some respect.
Mhm.
You got Kerry Russell, Felicity. You got O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's kid, who played Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton. Guys, this is gonna bring the movies back. Ari, this is how you get the movies back from Marvel.
I guess I have to watch it just so the numbers show that making other ones. I don't know if this fits into my category, Andy. I'll level with you, but I'll do anything that I can to
CGI bear rampaging.
By the way,
through the woods
Ray
on
Liotta was in that show Blackbird on Apple. Have you seen that?
I have not.
It's about a dude who gets arrested for dealing cocaine and gets a long sentence because he was a drug kingpin, but they sent him to a maximum security prison to try to talk to this serial killer and befriend him because he was a
kind of like Mindhunter vibes.
Yes, but like it is an incredible show, and Ray Liotta is one of the characters in it, and like that would be a really good movie. And I guess I got 6 episodes of it, so that's my trade-off.
Exactly. So yeah.
But if you haven't watched that, go watch the trailer. It was incredible.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear probably not set up for a 10-episode limited series. Like it's a solid hour and 41 minutes of cinematic enjoyment. That's popcorn and Twizzlers, baby.
All I want in 2023 is one movie that makes me be like, you know what? Let's get a sitter and let's go together and watch this movie in the theater. That's all I want.
This is that movie.
Are they showing it in theaters?
Of course they are.
Or is it going straight to YouTube? I
don't
know.
Ari. This is in theaters. Elizabeth Banks is directing. I mean, come on. This is going to be amazing.
This reminds me, I was on Instagram and I saw something and I sent it to Andy and they said they were making a sequel to the Batman.
To the Robert Pattinson Batman.
And I freaked out. I was like, a sequel? They've made 3,900 of these movies. What do you mean a sequel?
Well, it's a second Robert Pattinson Batman movie.
So we have different sequels within the Batman universe.
Yeah, the Christian Bale ones are better than the other ones.
Guys, if you like Batman, put your foot down. They're ruining it. Just enough's enough.
They're not ruining it. I want to see Killer Croc. I think we've already seen Killer Croc. We might have seen Killer Croc in one of the Harley Quinn movies. I can't remember. She's from the Batman universe.
A good random ranking would be movie theater popcorn or movie theater seasoning.
Snacks.
Are you a seasoning guy?
No. I just like the butter. Just pump the butter onto the popcorn as much as I can.
Yes, that is. Oh, that's so good.
I like it when there's not a lot of butter, like the liquid butter, because it gets greasy, and then I like to put a little of that seasoning on there. But I think I like movie theater popcorn better without the liquid butter.
What's your favorite candy to smuggle in that they don't sell in the theater?
Reese's, the M&M's one, the peanut butter M&M's.
Oh,
Reese's Pieces.
Mine's gummy worms because they always have crappy gummies. It's always like Lifesavers gummies or something in the movie theater.
I'm sure a lot of people are probably sneaking in different types of gummies these days, but
yeah, my gummies are a lot less expensive. My gummies cost $4 a bag. So, Well, I mean, I don't know what people are going to be sneaking into Cocaine Bear now.
Yeah, it's
not going to be gummies.
Sam, what's your go-to?
I'm always a Kit Kat guy. I like Kit Kat. They sell that
give me a
there.
break.
So,
Give me a
but
break.
it's
You like
just-
paying $9 for a Kit Kat bar?
No, heck no. I can't remember the last time I've been to a movie theater, man, because we got 2 kids. So
Yeah, it's not the
and
kids.
now
It's
we
the
have a
fact there's
house,
nothing
so
worth seeing. Yeah.
No, it's the
Yeah,
kids.
I mean,
like I saw
it
The
really is the
Hangover, and then I didn't see a movie in a theater again for 7 years
That's insane.
because we had 2 children.
You know the thing that I like about movie theaters, that is like a movie theater thing to me, but I don't get anywhere else? An icy. Like that is where I don't think I've ever had an icy outside the confines of a movie theater.
You haven't been to a lot of gas stations, apparently.
Well, they have them.
Buc-ee's,
They have
baby.
them in all of them. They have them in all of them. But like that to me is a movie theater treat.
That my son loves an icy at the movie theater. Now, my son is finally aged out of the I'm going to eat all this candy and drink this icy in 3 minutes and get sick 5 minutes into the movie. I'm glad we're past that point.
And there are a lot of psychopaths who mix things into their popcorn. And I don't know if any of the, but like put like M&Ms
Cocaine?
and pretzels and stuff and blow into their popcorn. No, but I don't like these people who mix stuff. Popcorn is sacred and it should be by itself.
You're not a sweet savory. You're not a kettle corn guy, I take it.
I love kettle corn, but I don't want M&Ms.
But not at the movies.
I don't think that I would. I like kettle corn everywhere, but I do like movie theater popcorn at the movies.
Oh,
But I love
SC
kettle
Scout
corn.
guy with the best. Here in South Carolina, we have boiled peanuts at the movie theater. I can't top that. We got to go. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy Cocaine Bear. On Monday, me and Dane Brugler will preview the NFL Combine. We'll talk to you later.